Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Sarah, as you know, and today I'm going to be giving you guys my top January book recommendations. I have 4 books that I have read, and they are so good. They're so good, guys. I can't get over how great they are. And I'm just going to show you them, give you a quick description of each of them, and tell you just how much I love them. They're so great. So the first book I have is Everything Leads to You. The book is very good. She's the writer of Hold Still, if you guys have read that book. And this is basically about a girl named Emmy. And Emmy is a lesbian, and she is a set designer. She is still in high school, and she designs sets for different TV shows and movies, mostly movies. And she's a very, very good set designer. She's very up and coming, and she's having a very hard time with this girl she used to date who works with her. And suddenly she is moving into her brother's apartment because he is going to London for some time for a movie, and he says, "I'll let you guys have this apartment if you make sure you do something fantastic with it. Do something great and memorable." So she accepts this challenge, and then suddenly she meets another girl, and I won't spoil who it is, but she meets somebody else, and you know, romantic things start to happen. Some really good stuff happens, and it's just such a great book. I was so happy with it. I could not put it down. I think I finished it in 2 days. It was very, very good. So the next book I have is more of a guy and girl related book. It's very good for anybody, any gender. The last one was a little bit girly. I'm not saying guys can't read it, I'm just saying they might not enjoy it as much as a girl. But anyway, the next book is Highly Illogical Behavior. And it's Highly Illogical Behavior. If you haven't seen this book, please go get this book. It is so great. I had to beg and beg and beg my parents to get me this book because I'm a big book fan, so they buy me a lot of books. But anyway, this book is about a 16-year-old boy who doesn't leave the house. He has been in his house for 3 years, and he has not left since the day he got home from school after a horrible, horrible mishap. And he had a panic attack at school, and he just hasn't left the house since. He's agoraphobic. His name is Solomon Reed, and he just doesn't have any desire to leave the house, and he doesn't think he ever will. But there's always a but. A girl that used to go to his school is very interested in him for unknown reasons. Wink, wink. You'll figure that out when you read it. And she's very interested in him. She writes him a letter and gives it to his mother, and she gives it to him, and he has to decide whether he wants to let this girl into his life or if he doesn't at all. And it's a very, very good book. I finished it maybe a week. It was so great, and the ending is so great. The whole thing is just really, really great. It's called The Sun Is Also a Star. I haven't quite finished this one yet, but I am about 100 pages in, and I've never been so in love with a book in my entire life. It is just so beautifully written, and the details in it are so nice, and I aspire to write books for somewhat of a living. I've always wanted to write a book, and just seeing an author that kind of has the same writing style as me is just so refreshing. It's so nice. And well, this book is about a girl named Natasha, and her dad has made not such a great decision. He has a DUI, and they're about to be thrown out of the country and deported back to Jamaica, since she's Jamaican American. And she's lived in America for almost her entire life, and she doesn't know what to do. So she tries to get herself out of it, but she only has 1 day to do so. And she ends up bumping into a guy. Of course she does. She bumps into a guy named Daniel, and Daniel is, I think it's Korean American, but or Asian American. I know he's definitely has some kind of Asian descent in him. And she bumps into him, and they just go on a crazy adventure in 1 day. It's all in 1 day. It's very good. It's very well written. Tasha and Daniel are just trying to find themselves, trying to be themselves. Daniel's parents want him to be a doctor. He really doesn't want to be a doctor. He wants to be a poet. And Natasha is a very logical girl, and she is trying to break out of that shell and become a little bit more emotional. So it's just such a good book, and I definitely highly recommend it. So this last one is by the same girl. It's called Everything, Everything. And the funny story about this book is that I saw it in my library at my high school, and I was about to check it out. It was a brand new book. Nobody had read it yet. And I asked my librarian if I could read it, and he said, "Sarah, you can't have this book. It is specifically for people in the reading competition." And the reading competition is where you read a bunch of books and you go to another school and answer a bunch of questions about them and try to win. And I got so upset, and I couldn't read it, and I had to wait until Christmas to get it. And I'm so happy that I did, because it just looked so amazing. And I know a lot of people say don't judge a book by its cover, but just look at this cover. Like, how can you not be drawn to a book that looks like that? It's just so gorgeous, and it's so beautifully like made. It's so beautiful. Now, I haven't exactly read this book yet, but I am so ready to read it. I'm so distracted with the other book I'm reading, The Sun Is Also a Star. But I know the general gist of it. It's basically that a girl, I'm not sure her name, but the main character of the story has a disease and she can't go outside. She can't do anything. So she has to just stay home and pretty much do nothing all the time. And she's really depressed about it. Her life isn't going the way she planned at all. And then suddenly this boy moves in across the street. He's so interesting, and she watches him from the window, and she just wants a life like that. And so the story unfolds and things start to get cute and romantic. So yeah, it looked like such a good book, and I haven't read it, but I know that the woman who writes this, like, her writing is so absolutely fantastic and it's absolutely beautiful, and I would 100% recommend reading this. I know I haven't read it, but I'm sure it's good. Yeah, it's a bestseller, New York Times bestseller, so I'm sure it's great. And the front cover says, "The greatest risk is not taking one," and I totally agree with that. If you're not going to take risks in life, then what's the point? You have to be able to take risks and do things that you would never do. So this book definitely speaks to me on a bit of a greater level than books usually do. So, alright guys, so that's my 4 January books that I recommend. They all look so great, and most of them I've read. The first 2 and the third I have read and I am about to finish. And Everything, Everything is the only one I haven't read and I haven't finished, but I'm sure it's very, very good. I've heard very good things about it. My friends have read it. They've all said it's fantastic, and I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching my January book reviews. I think I'll have one for February as well. But yeah. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys so much, and I hope you guys have a great day. Bye!